Is it French? Is it German? Or is it Eastern Europe? Such questions hardly have answers in Concordia. The essence is that you may find yourself exploring the old Parliament building, which just got turned into a national library and museum. You'll find yourself walking down the avenue into its adjacent French Quarter, the romantic, narrow cobblestone alleyways and all those gorgeous smells coming from the local restaurants. Feeling unwell? Well, don't you worry, the historic L'Hôpital Général is just here, ready to offer their help. Oh, perhaps you just need a quiet space to walk, to worship, or to live. These streets are bustling. Everyone is welcome. Everyone is free. Everyone will find their corner in Concordia. Hello, 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 YouTube! Welcome to my channel, Lunatic Plays. I'm the lunatic who plays cities, skylines too. Welcome back. Or, welcome to my time pit. The ever time consuming, the ever elaborate, the one who shines at night. Concordia! We are back with a new sort of endeavor. Initially, I was going to just expand the Parliament district today, throw in some grandiose plaza and detail the inner side of our new arterial, which we just created in the previous episode. If you want to see how I made it, links are down below in the description. Honestly, I don't think I would be worthy of being an overachiever if I just focused on this small, teeny-weeny part of our city. So, instead, today, we are doing our grandiose plaza, yes, but just you wait. But we are also expanding our living spaces for the inner city center of Concordia. I am living the European tenement extravaganza. So, let's review what we have. So here is the aerial view of our inner city center as is. I have pre-planned certain districts which are not super massive, so I think we can really build up today a bit. The districts are the Parliament far side, which I already mentioned that I would like to bring some French influence into. I think that the French buildings we have available with the French region pack are perfect for fitting into this location, as they sort of the same palette as the Parliament building itself, and as you may know based on our previous plans for Concordia, this is a pan-European Frankenstein sort of a city, and we are currently working on its European visage. To date, we have primarily been influenced by Central Europe, but the city will have a sprawling French Quarter on the northwest side of the map, and the Central and Eastern European districts on the south and southeast side of the map. As we are building the inner city core, I do wanted to sing to the many influences which come together and create it, and so we will have a piece of our inner city core pay tribute to the French architectural style. We are gonna slap it onto the hospital district and upper key area of the city core too. And down here, where the courts are, we also have a predisposed space for tenements, and so these will stay Central European. I just got my hand on a custom church asset by, once again, Fragnot. Thank you so much, pal. He's of Paradox Mods and is available. Get it for yourself. He's making some incredible assets. And I do actually want to throw in his church here. It's a relatively small church, so I am not throwing it into the old town, as I am actually still willing to wait for a slightly bigger asset, because if we're going to redo something in the old town, I really want it to pop. So I'm willing to wait. So we will pop our buildings and mark out our tenement blocks. I want to include some really narrow alleys where we will use the French buildings that will have cobblestone streets going through them. So I imagine we will use a lot of static ploppables to fill out the gaps. Don't even think I will use real roads for most of them, as I want this to be even narrower than the narrowest alleyway that we have available. We will make them usable by drawing some invisible pedestrian paths. Once we have our blocks, we will detail the roads using the patterns we had learned in the previous episodes and cover all of the roads in the new areas that we are expanding into. And finally, we will detail with props and look at all of those little nooks and crannies in courtyards and alleyways and beer gardens and such to make our city come to life. Okay, I think our plan is roughly sketched out. Let's make it happen! Okay, we begin today with our building, and focusing here on the French Quarter, we choose these beautiful French region pack assets. I'm not gonna lie, positioning these buildings is challenging, and I always advise to use Move It quite a lot. Particularly the roundabout side is somewhat challenging because of the semi-circular shape that we must surround with buildings. I found that placing this corner building here with the circular towery bit up front is a good way to start, and then move a combination of actual and static ploppable straight and narrow pieces worked pretty well here. I mean, obviously you will have some inconsistencies, but overall I don't think it looks half bad. I included another bit here at an angle and a corner piece at the end to complete the look. Overall, it's coming out pretty decent. You may find yourself having issues aligning things at the back once you've aligned the front, so I would take a static ploppable copy of the building that you're using up front and extend the building backwards to cover up any harsh edges like I'm doing here. Now we're going in to create the shape of our alleyways. And this is going to be a combination of regular and static ploppables, especially where the buildings face the alleyways. We carry on the theme and remove all detailing already present on these buildings. I am going to go in and detail everything myself, so all pre-existing elements like bins and surfaces and all that kind of stuff, all of that needs to go. We continue on the design on the other side of the avenue, making a space for our alleyways and aligning the buildings and static ploppables using Move It into its final shape. Sometimes, when a courtyard seems too large, it might be a good idea to grab a straight and narrow building and add it as a wing crossing across the courtyard, dividing the block into two. These buildings generally have a decorated front side and a less decorated back side, so I conjoined the two buildings of the same type and covered their decorated facade and just left the back sides facing outwards, and this is a courtyard wing of the block, so typically you don't expect it to be adorned. And this is how it looks like. And the hospital quarter is much of the same. We line our roadsides, we add the block corner piece, link them up with straight and narrow building pieces into something cohesive, cover it up with the harsh edges, and continue the design. Here we will also have an alleyway and a narrow road leading into each of the courtyards. As we do have a bit more space here, I allowed myself for a more unique shape to these blocks. And this certainly is representative of how some of these blocks would meander in real-life European cities. The west wall side is going to be a return to what we know and our standardized Central European architectural style. Here we do something bold and something daring. We have this upward little triangular angled shape here where the minor key road meets the major key road. And certainly this seems to me like a very good spot for something pretty special. So Fragnod made a new church, and here it goes. It's relatively small, and I am going to plop it in here, as in order to redo bits around the actual town, I prefer to wait for a slightly larger asset, but this is a great first state of how the asset mods will one day enhance our gameplay. And here it goes. I line up my building according to the same rules we have already discovered, creating a beautiful spacious courtyard where our parkings are going to be, and a discrete slipway into these going through the side road. This, based on my Google Earth searches, is quite consistent with how these old Central European tenements look like. So this is it. In the previous episode, we have established the pattern for detailing our road markings, and so we continue this onto these new areas that we have now created. Having added our buildings and its adjacent roads means we have a definite shape for our inner city center. So we can now go in with full road marking extravaganza on all of our major roads and less so on the side roads. The first step is going to be the lining up of all of our new districts with curbs, and this is without exception every single one of the roadsides. I mark out the tram lanes too with their own curbs to provide a box for the cobblestone to go into the tram and into and onto the tram lanes. I really must say that I do love this design. Next up are the double yellow lines at the road sides, demarcating the inability for cars to stop nor park at these lines. Generally, old European towns would have rather tight spaces, so many roads in inner city centers around Europe will prevent roadside parking, simply on account of there not being space for it. Instead, they will provide whether multi-story car parks or underground parking. So we continue this tradition here. Also, I would not be paying a true homage to my lovely Irish roads if I did not include a yellow junction box, or 2, or 7. The bike lanes are blue because blue has been my favorite color ever since I dyed my hair blue some time ago. And since I cannot keep my hair blue, at least my bike lanes will be blue. Finally, we add the arrows and decals aplenty. You may notice that I didn't draw up the sidewalks networks yet, nor have I really detailed any of the road sides. And there is a reason for this. Sidewalks already encroach on our blocks, so I want to wait till I focus on the individual tenement blocks to draw them out. But the side roads, in most cases, at least here in Ireland, are not really going to be marked all that much. I threw in a little yellow double line here, a little stop line there, but I did keep it to a bare minimum, simply because most side roads I see on the daily don't really have all that much road markings. And now for my favorite part, the detailing! And we begin this by drawing up our surface networks, cobblestone upon our narrow alleyways and courtyards. This is supposed to be an old part of the inner city center, so we are paying homage to with all of that cobble. Next, we add the sidewalks, and now we finally have the outlines clearly defined, so we can go ahead and draw them out. The old parliament is up next, getting a glow up. And when I say old parliament, I kind of have in mind an actual parliament building we can create in the future. So, in the lore of the city, I would say this used to be a seat of parliamentary power, but now it's probably something more like a museum or like a state library kind of a thing. Especially that I am planning on some pretty sprawling and open plazas here, and typically if this was a parliament, then you would expect an area to have loads more security and fencing and stuff like that. But I would much rather keep this open and beautiful, so a museum it is. So we go in with the sandstone slab surface we used on our pedestrian streets, and continuity of design materials here is not accidental. Typically in cities you would find the same materials sourced from the same local quarries, adorning the streets of the whole town. And yes, we have come a long way with transportation, but bear in mind that this is a European and therefore a pretty old build, and it's old medieval city center, so keeping it in that spirit is definitely advisable. I add in the planters next, all around giving that green potential to my city. And I personally think the greener the better. I want to walk the concrete jungle, close my eyes and feel like I'm in an actual forest. And while not the height of realism, this is my town, and I do make the rules. I add the pedestrian tactiles all around the streets used by cars for my disabled populace, because, well, I do be benevolent like that. So since we ended up with such grand plaza, it's only fair to divide up the space with planters, and I'm taking a page out of my key design book and add these lowered large concrete walls here and there, outlining the space and giving this just a little bit of oomph. And what would be a sprawling plaza in front of a museum if it didn't have a massive fountain up front, right? So let's add one. The bollards and lamps are up next, and we all know that drill. Then the shrubs upon all of my green spaces, just to bring the whole thing to life. And from some of my newer bits, I added a large bike rack stop, plenty of kiosks and food stalls and eateries, and those marvelous flagpoles and flags all around the front side of the parliament/museum to give this space some more dignified, important look. Now, let's turn off the lights for a minute and see the place in the dark. Lamps can only do so much, and we do add a lot of them, but these great tunnel lights are perfect for some discreet lighting to really make this architectural marvel pop out. So I just added all around the strategic spaces, casting the light on pillars and turrets and roofs, and here it is. For the French Quarter, one thing that I came up with that I'm actually really happy with are these little restaurant, beer garden tables and planterns or wooden fences and canopies in different colors, or these wooden garden roof pieces to create some really interesting looks all around. This, I think, is Concordia Food Central. Finally, we pop our tram stops, and I came up with something quite special for the underground passages we created. I used the greenhouse static ploppable to cover them up and create an interesting pavilion-like look for these, which is absolutely splendid. Now for the hospital quarter. It is still much of the same. At some point I added these underground parking lots to the hospital and to the custom house. Not sure I got it on the footage though. But I extend our pedestrian sidewalk surfaces networks all around our blocks, demarcate a few green spaces, and the underground parking is actually great at demarcating. It's actually a great demarcating asset for these green spaces here. I also got the idea for these hospital entry roads sort of after the fact, but the ambulances need to get in somewhere now, do they, right? So they're going to get in via the side roads, and that necessitated me to break up the tram lane a little bit, but that's no bother, and asphalt out the drive-in to the hospital entry archway. Bit of fiddling around, some shrubs and planters and stuff, and voila! And now for the hospital courtyard. I mark out the curbs for walking bits and for, you might have guessed it, some cobblestone courtyards. Here we go in with a blend of blue cobblestone and a French yellow brick surface network. And at the back, I redefined a little bit the existing courtyard, left some bits and I added some new bits, and in the end I was pretty happy with the result. Next up, I moved on to the area beside the hospital, and I already had a pattern established for this from the previous French Quarter. So following the design, I extended the side walks, added the cobblestone courtyards, made my greenhouse pavilion underground passages, and then moved on to the quay. So we had this pretty rough looking stone, sort of a harbor vibe looking wall on the roundabout, and reason being that the tunnels look sort of funky upon quay walls, so I needed a ground level but also didn't want the ground popping out, but I knew I can do better than that, and God made concrete blocks. Well, not God, some smart modder, but you get it. And basically we have the tools and we better use them. So first off, I positioned the tunnel walls and then rotated them at 45 degrees angle using the transform tool, and I repeated this and stacked concrete upon each another until they lined my tunnel walls perfectly and until I was happy with the result. Then, once the tunnel was demarcated, it was easier on the actual roundabout wall side. I did the same with these large concrete cubes, 45-degree angle, and a line, and here it is. Ooh, I also popped a concrete wall piece at the top to hide the harsh edges, and this was consistent with the flower beds that we did all around the quay, so it's actually perfect. Oh my god, concrete rocks. Get it? Concrete rocks. And the actual block, I followed up with the beer gardens up front and graffiti bins and trash out the back in true European fashion. Okay, West Wall area is everything we know and more. This is the consistent Central European tenements block, but what really makes this neighborhood pop is the church, which we plopped in, and for its small plaza, we give it the same sandstone slab surface network. The courtyard here have loads of space, so we went in, added some parking lots and a green space and a custom playground. A cross goes in front of the church because, you know, cults, they gotta have their symbolism, so let's put it in. I went in and recolored a bunch of buildings to give the city a bit more color pop and to Easternize the neighborhood. Here's the playground. I popped in and it's not functional, but it is pretty. Finally, we carried on the key area with concrete slab dividers, a boardwalk space, planters and benches and footstools galore. I didn't actually place the barrier wall in yet because it tends to disappear whenever I shift terrain around and change roads from normal to key and vice versa. So since we have some more work to do, I just decided to wait till the whole key is done before adding the key barrier wall, but it is coming. Today, we built some truly magnificent stuff. We began at the Parliament and its adjacent French Quarter, which are characterized by very pedestrian-friendly areas, narrow alleyways, sprawling plazas, lots of food places, and a generally vibrant area. For me particularly, the shopfront food gardens were a great addition, and the lighting on the Parliament really makes it pop at night. I'm also a huge fan of the greenhouse underground pavilion thing that we did. We also did the hospital district, which honestly is also so very special. I love how overgrown it looks from the dockland side, and I love how the tenements area sort of blends pedestrian spaces with vehicle using spaces. Again, the food courts being a true marvel here. And on the dock side, it's extra special as this will be our entertainment district. And right now, it's shaping up to be quite something. We also have the Central European bit on the west wall, which is just so gorgeous, and not thanks to me this time, but this marvelous church that Fragnot have made, and it really pops in this area, and I love that this is finally an option. I also really like the courtyards of the tenements. I think even though they're very everyday and bland, but they convey the sort of a realism, I think. They're cleaner than real life, but I am being a little bit of an idealist here. Overall, the town is really coming together, and soon we will begin expanding outwards, but not yet. Next episode, we will look at our forecourts district, our customs house, and this empty space right here. I want to break up the old vibes here, and we are going to build an expansive shopping gallery right by the bridge and extenuate our skyline with some moderately high-rise hotels right by the courts. Then perhaps a park or more tenements on the quay behind the courts, and finally we will be ready to move on with the finishing touches for our inner city center of Concordia right after that. And for now, thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, like, subscribe, drop a comment, let me know that you're watching. I actually will be going live with some behind the scenes live stream making of episode 8, and this is coming on Sunday at 12 p.m. Dublin time, Dublin, London time. We are in the same time zone, so yeah, 12 p.m. London, Dublin time. So come hang out with me live in Concordia on Sunday. Thanks guys. Bye!